Hello guys, it's the Unclear 999. Today's video is about not caring. There comes a point in life when you stop chasing, not because you've reached the top, but because the climb stopped making sense. You stop waking up with that anxious urgency to be better, do more, prove something to yourself, to the world, to that invisible scoreboard that keeps tallying success. You stop checking the likes, refreshing the email, comparing your pace with everyone else's. It's not that you've give it s that the fire that once burned for more now feels more like a slow flicker. You realize that no promotion, no new car, no luxury watch, no dream vacation will fill the emptiness you've been patching up with reactivity. You've seen what it looks like when people get everything they thought they wanted, status, followers, and still feel hollow. And slowly, the chase loses its grip on you. You're not bitter. You're just tired. Tired of pretending that every new milestone is life. Tired of acting like each next step will finally unlock some permanent version of happiness. You stop caring how much better life gets because you realize that better never ends. It's a moving goalpost, a dangling carrot, and chasing it has left you emotionally bankrupt. You start to crave peace over progress, silence over applause, presence over potential, and maybe, just maybe, that's where a different kind of freedom begins, not the one they sell you in ads, but the one you find when you're finally done performing. There comes a point in life when you stop chasing, not because you've won, but because you've seen what the game really is. You wake up one day and realize that the world around you has been dangling a carrot you never actually wanted: bigger home, flashier cars, job titles that sound more like armor than meaning. You stop running, not out of defeat, but because you're tired of being breathless for something that never made you feel whole. You stop caring how much better life gets, because better is a trepane illusion sold to you through polished screens and curated feeds. You've climbed ladders only to find they leaned against the wrong wall. You've met successful people who smile for cameras and cry in silence. You've tasted luxury and found it flavorless. And so, you stop. You let it go. The weight of constant striving falls off your shoulders like a coat you no longer need. You stop obsessing over goals. You stop comparing yourself. You stop trying to be more, have more, prove more, not out of apathy, but because you've discovered peace in enoughness. You walk slower. You breathe deeper. You take your time at dinner. You notice small things: the warmth of the sun, the sound of your loved ones laughing, the comfort of being known without explanation. Your soul begins to whisper instead of scream. You don't care if you get the promotion, if the algorithm favors you, or if your inbox is empty. You care that your heart is light, that your spirit isn't cracked, that you can look in the mirror and not see a brand or a product or a resume, but a human being, quiet, present, and enough. And that, somehow, is where real joy begins, not when life gets better, but when you stop needing it to be. There's something strangely liberating about reaching the point where you stop caring what others think. It is not about giving up or falling into apathy. It's about shedding the unnecessary weight of external expectations. From the moment we're born, we're handed a script we never wrote. Be successful, be admired, be attractive, be rich, follow this path, fit into that mold, and for years, we chase those ideals like they're oxygen, thinking that if we just impress the right people, earn the right income, or post the right filtered photo, we'll finally be enough. But something powerful happens when you realize the world doesn't actually care as much as you thought. People are too busy with their own insecurities and dramas to keep track of your every move, and suddenly, you feel it, that freedom, that moment where you stop overthinking your words in every conversation, stop replaying past mistakes in your head, and stop trying to curate an identity that pleases everyone else but starves your own soul. When you stop caring about keeping up with the next person, a strange calm settles in. You realize that comparison is the thief of not just joy but time, energy, and authenticity. You no longer need to fake enthusiasm in spaces that drain you. You don't force smiles in rooms that ignore your worth. You start choosing peace over popularity and depth over noise. And here's the beautiful twist. The more you embrace who you really are, the more you attract people who genuinely vibe with that raw version of you. Not the polished, performative self that made everyone comfortable, but the unfiltered you who laughs loud, makes mistakes, and speaks truth even when it's awkward. Life becomes lighter not because the world changes, but because your mindset does. You stop running the race and start walking your path. People mistake caring less for being careless, but there's a difference. You can be deeply passionate and still not care about approval. You can be wildly ambitious and still not tie your worth to the applause. When you stop caring what doesn't matter, you start investing in what does. Time spent scrolling through other people's highlight reels gets replaced with time building something real. The energy once used to fit in is now redirected into creativity, into meaningful work, into relationships that don't require performance, and suddenly, you're not exhausted anymore. You're not drained from keeping up. You're thriving quietly, steadily, in your own way. The irony is that when you stop obsessing over having a perfect life, life starts to feel more perfect. Not because anything dramatically changes on the outside, but because you stop rejecting the present moment. You stop thinking, I'll be happy when, and instead begin to notice the joy in, I'm okay now. You stop measuring your worth by metrics you can control, likes, comments, claps, or promotions, and begin grounding it in things you can. Integrity, peace of mind, effort, creativity. You laugh easier. You sleep better. You start being more honest, not just with others, but with yourself. And that honesty becomes your superpower. It clears out the fake relationships, the false goals, the stuff that once cluttered your path, and now you can finally see the road ahead. When you stop caring about appearing successful and start focusing on being fulfilled, everything changes. You realize that expansive clothes can't cover up internal emptiness. That validation from strangers on the internet doesn't heal the quiet ache of living inauthentically. You start asking deeper questions. What makes me feel alive? Who do I become when no one is watching? What would I do if I didn't need approval from anyone? These aren't easy questions, but they're the right ones, because they lead you back to yourself. And once you reconnect with your true self, the version of you that existed before the world told you who to be, you start building a life that feels like home. And in that home, there is peace, there is purpose, there is power. One of the biggest illusions we buy into is that caring more will give us control. That if we stress enough, worry enough, grind enough, we can bend life to our will. But the truth is, most of life isn't in your control. People will leave, plans will fail, markets will crash, opportunities will pass. So when you stop caring about controlling the uncontrollable, you start to focus on what you can shape: your reactions, your habits, your mindset. And it's from that shift that strength is born. Not the loud kind, not the flashy, Instagrammable, motivational poster strength, but the quiet kind, the kind that lets you sit in a storm and still feel steady, the kind that lets you say no without guilt and yes without fear. That's real freedom. That's what happens when you stop caring about the wrong things and start caring about the right ones.